Welcome back to Arrakis Central. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you enjoy this content. Well, recently Funcom did a final live stream showcasing the mechanics of the deep desert and the late game stages that we will see in Dune Awakening. And in this live stream, they covered some very interesting aspects of the game, specifically the beginning zones of the deep desert, which were very interesting, which will encompass a PvE area, which you'll be able to build a semi-safer base, giving you a little bit of a buffer zone in case you want to solo deep desert or do raiding and other operations like that if you're not with your guild. Another aspect they talked about was that the building costs in the deep desert would be cheaper. Although there would be some loss to your materials, it would be much faster to move in, set up your base, your weekly base, go out and then set up other staging areas out in the desert area past the shield wall. The next thing they showcased was how some of the map scanning and cartography would work in the deep desert. You basically fly out similar into the Haga Basin zone. You actually set up your survey probe to gather that information of that area, and then you can go and create those maps. And then they showed some of the trade mechanic where you're able to go and trade those maps to other players in your guild or team. After that, they showcased the ability to create the transport ornithopter, which was a awesome addition to the game, which they said is the largest flying vehicle that you're going to be able to create in Dune Awakening. And the one thing that's particularly interesting about the transport ornithopter is that it's able to carry and lift and pick up all the ground vehicles in the game and drop them in certain areas, such as the spice harvesters and the buggies, which is very useful. The next area they discussed was the rotating maps due to the Coriolis storms that would wipe the deep desert maps weekly. What will happen is that these maps will have different locations on them every week, and when the storm hits, it'll change locations such as spice plumes, research stations, and other areas such as control points. This will really change up the type of loot and where its locations are every week, so to keep it kind of fresh for the players. The next part of the game they discussed was the control points in the desert. As you can see in this part of the game, different guilds will be able to go land and basically take over these control points based on the different houses in the game and then Landsraad. If you control those areas at the end of each week, you'll get voting power within the Landsraad and benefits from that, meaning this will be points of contention from other guilds in the deep desert to fight over. So these areas will probably be a lot of PvP happening during the deep desert incursions. Next, they transitioned into basically the most impressive thing of the live stream, in my opinion, which was that of the spice field harvesting. In this scene, their group of players, including a transport ornithopter with a spice harvester and a crew of different players, were able to go in, identify the spice plume, the spice field, set up a perimeter of distractors in the form of thumpers to distract the various worms that were going to come in and attack them as the harvester is making all that noise harvesting the spice. And as you can see, the different various teams are dropped off. They dropped their sand bikes and they move around to different points to drop off their thumpers. And then the worms start attacking those thumpers. Then finally at the end, when the largest worm is attracted, the worm will come in and engulf the entire spice field. So you must recover and get your spice harvester and crew off the ground as soon as possible. And this was an extraordinary, cool looking scene in the game. Finally, they showed off an example of what one of the random ecology stations would look like when you find them in the desert, in the deep desert. They will just essentially look similar to the ones in Haga Basin, but will sporadically, show up in different locations depending on the wipes of the week. So that was a very interesting aspect as well, and those will definitely be high point, since the loot in these areas will be better than what you see in Haga Basin. But finally, one aspect they mentioned in the video was that of base raiding. And yes, it will be possible to raid people's bases in the deep desert, although it won't be quite as straightforward as just going in and attacking the base if they're shielded. And they didn't say specifically what, but there will be a way to essentially deactivate a different player's base's shield and raid the base. But I guess we're going to have to wait until the game comes out for us to see how that's actually going to play out. I'm assuming maybe spies or a different way to, disable their base shields to get into it. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How's this looking to you? To me, this last live stream they did was very good. It looked very impressive to me, especially the spice mining field aspect of the game. That's something I'm really interested in getting into, because during these times you're going to be vulnerable not just to the worms, but you're going to be vulnerable to other players, meaning that you'll be able to get raided by other players during this time. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I thought this was a very good example and showcase of the later game from Funcom, and I'm hoping to see more. And we only have to wait about 3-4 more days till the game drops on the 5th, which I will be playing the early access or early drop for on the 5th at 9 a.m. So tune in to the channel then, 9 a.m. on the 5th, and that's Central Time, and we'll see you guys then. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Thank you.